Hello everyone, my name is Naman Goyal and today we are going to start chapter statistic from class 9. Okay, so for this chapter statistic is one of the important topic because that topic is also in class 8th. Okay, and in this chapter we are going to learn about graphs. Okay, the data, because in today's scenario data is one of the most important thing, right? Data is important than money in today's scenario. Okay, if you have data for anything, then it is very important. Okay, with the help of data we can, in today's scenario, with the help of data we can predict the future. Okay. Okay, so in CBSE weightage, if I'm talking about CBSE weightage, it will be 5 to 7 marks. Okay, and most of the questions are from that graphs. You have to draw the graphs, or they will give you a graph, then you have to solve the question with the help of that particular graph. Okay. Okay. Yes. So in this chapter there are some topics we are going to cover, which is collection of data. We are going to learn what is collection of data, presentation of data, how we present that the data we collect. Now what we do with that collect data, we have to present that data. So how we present that data, it will become in the presentation of data. Now there are so many types of presentation. You can present the data in tabular forms, means in table forms. You can present the data in graphical representation. Okay, so the next topic is what? Graphical representation of data. And in that graphical representation we have so many types of graphical representation. One is bar graph and another one is histogram. Okay, now if you see here, there is a graphical representation of percentage of people using social media on a daily basis. Okay, so there is a data for a company. Okay, for companies, it means what? People are going, see, there are 74% pupils who's used Facebook. Okay, 63% people is used Snapchat, 60% Instagram, 46% Twitter, and 45% what? YouTube. Okay, so the representation, this representation is known as bar graph. This particular representation is what? Bar graph. If you see, there are bars, right? So this is known as what? Bar graph. Are you getting my point? Okay, so we are going to learn about that later. Okay. Okay, so what is the meaning of collection of data? What is the meaning of collection of data? Let me show you. The extraction of meaningful information is studied in a branch of mathematics called statistics. Okay, so basically, statistic is what? Is a branch of mathematics in which we learn about how we extract the meaningful information. See, we have so much information, so how we extract the information which is meaningful, or we can say that which can be used. Okay. Okay, so this is the meaning of, this is the definition of what? Statistic. Okay, we are going to learn this topic from the basic and to advanced level. Okay, so this involves the study of the collection. So what we do, first we collect the data, right? Okay, analyze, then we make analyze, right? Then we analyze that data, that collected data. What we do, we analyze. देखो हमने क्या किया, पहले हमने collect किया data, ठीक है? फिर after that what we do, we analyze that data की exactly data है किसके बारे में, right? Now interpretation, next is interpretation, means what we do, we just make our own interpretation कि हाँ ये data ये बोल रहा है, ठीक है? After that we present that data and organization of data in a organized form. Okay, so if you see the cricket matches, the data of every player, every batsman, how many match they played, how many score runs in previous matches, is how many 50 they score, how many hundreds they score, how many, what is the strike rate, what is the average of that particular batsman. So this is what, first they collect the data and then they analyze the data कि हाँ इसमें इसका player of matches है, फिर runs है, फिर now the thing is 50s 100 strike rate and average. Now interpretation means they interpret कि हाँ नंबर ऑफ एवरेज कैसे निकालेंगे अपन, ये सब चीजें. नाउ प्रेजेंटेशन इज व्हाट यू हैव, दे प्रेजेंट यू द डेटा, राइट? And after that organization of data, they show you the data in an organized way, right? First is number of matches, number of runs, then strike rate, then average, then number of 50, then 100. So that is known as organization of data. Okay, so this is census, sampling, observational study, and experiment. We do also do experiment on the data. Okay. Okay, in other words, it is a mathematical discipline to collect and summarize the data. Simple as that. If I am talking about in simple language, then it is means what? First of all, we have to collect, then we have to summarize that data, and this process is known as what? Collection of data. Okay, got it? Okay, so this is what collection of data. Now the next thing I told you, what we learn about presentation of data. Okay, so how we present the data. So let's see. Presentation of data, this refers to the organization of data into tables. See, as I told you, we present data in so many parts, so many forms. First form is what? Tables. We present data is in table form, tabular form. Okay, the data which shown, as I told you, for player, how many runs he scored, that form is known as tables, for tabular form, है ना? Next is graphs. Graphs you can see in a cricket match also. Okay, अच्छा, अगर if we have, there is a data कि in 2014 a particular batsman score how many runs. For example, he scored 2000 run. Okay, in 2015 he scored 1500 runs. So this data, if I show the data like that, in 2016 he scored 500,000 run, and then in 2017 he scored 3000 run. So this form is known as graphical form. Okay, chart, we can show the data in chart also. Okay, so that the logical and statistical conclusion can be derived from that corrected measurement. So we can derive logical and statistical conclusion. Okay, data may be presented in three method: textual, tabular, and graphical. Textual means if we write down the data normally, tabular if we organize the data in a tabular form, and graphical we draw the graphs. Okay, got it? So if you see, there are some forms. This is what? Graphical form. This is graphical form. This is chart. Okay, these are bar graphs. Okay. Okay, next is what? Graphical representation of data. What we are going to learn about? Graphical representation of data. So the what is graphical representation of data? Graphical representation is a way of analyzing numerical data. In exhibits the relation between the data, ideas, information, and collect in a diagram. So what we can do, we analyze the numerical part of data, and then we make some relations between the data or ideas or information and concept, and that shows with the help of a diagram. So if you see, there is a line graph. This is known as a line graph. Okay, because there are some lines. Line graph is in our course, we are going to learn about line graph also. So these types of graph are known as line graph. If I'm telling a good example for line graph, then if you remember in cricket match, okay, if you see, they compare the इस, है ना, वो कंपेयर करते हैं कि दो टीम है, देखो टीम ए टीम बी, दो, दे आर टू टीम्स, राइट? दे आर कंपेयर कि कैसे कितने रन इन्होंने बनाए हैं और कब विकेट गिरा है, राइट? सो द ग्राफ्स इज शोन लाइक दिस, राइट? Like this is the graph for team A, and this is the graph of for team B, like this. Okay, this type. So these two graphs are known as what these two graphs are line graphs, right? And they makes line graphs combinedly to compare them, है ना? Why we make two graphs combinedly? For comparison, isn't it? Are you getting my point? So this is the comparison of two graphs. Okay, okay, now this is what? Steam and leaf plot. So what I do, I just write down 0, and how many? 0 is what? 0 is the key, and how many numbers write down here? Bar graph. that graph, this graph is known as what? Bar graph, because in the data shown in bars. Okay, so this is bar graph. Okay, now the next is histograms. See, what is the difference between histogram? If you see, these all are graphical representation. In bar graph, there is not a there is a space between two bars, but in histogram there is no space between two graphs. This is the main difference between bar graph and histogram. We are going to learn about bar graph and histograms in deeply, no problem. This is line plot. Okay, this is box plot, this is frequency table, and this is circle graph. Okay, in previous classes we learn about how we draw the frequency table, we learn about that, right? And this is circle graph, or this is also known as pie chart. Okay, now it's always depends on the type of information in a particular domain. So basically that depends on what that data type of information what you want to represent. If you want to represent these types of data, then we use line graph. If you want to represent these types of data, then what we use? Bar graphs. Okay, so which graphs you are going to use, it's totally depends on the type of information what you want to represent. Are you getting my point? There are there are different no, let me select yes. Now see, there are different types of graphical representation. Some of them are shown in the image below. So if you see, there are some graphical representation are given below. Okay, so I think you all got what is the meaning of graphical representation of data. If we represent the data in graphical form, there are so many types of graphical representation. So which type we are going to use is totally depends on what the data we are using. It's totally depend on that part. Okay, okay. So now what we have to do, we have to draw the frequency polygon for this following data. Okay. So what we want to do, we want to draw the frequency polygon of this particular data. Okay. Okay. So now what we have to do, first of all, we have to draw y-axis. This is x-axis and this is y-axis. So if you see on x-axis, marking is there 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40. So we have to take 10, then 20, then 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 and 90, right? Okay, on y-axis we can take 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 and so on, right? So for 10 to 20 it is 4, right? For 10 to 20 it is 4. Okay, now see, the frequency is given, right? Frequency is given. If you see, the frequency is given, so what you have to do, you have to take the midpoints, right? Okay, so if you see here, the class interval is given 0 to 10, frequency is 10. So what you have to do, you have to take the midpoints, right, for plotting that points. Okay, so let me show you this graph. Okay, now 10, 20 we can draw, this is frequency, this is class interval. Okay, like that. Okay, now 0 to 10 is 5, frequency is 0, because see, 0 to 10 there is no 0 to 10. So we can take for 0 to 10 it is 0. Okay, so what we have to do, we have to start it when the interval is given, then we have to take class marks as midpoint of that interval. So for 0 to 10, let me change the color. For 0 to 10 it is 5. Okay, we are going to start with 5. We plot that point on 5. Now for 10 to 20 it is 6, then we have to draw in middle. If you see, midpoints be 15 and frequency is what? 4, not 6, 4. So we have to plot 4 at midpoint of that part. Okay, okay. Okay, now see, so this is 6, got it? Okay, now 30 to 40. For now, first is the next is 20 to 30. So 20 to 30 midpoint is C, 20 plus 30 divided by 2. which is 15. So 15 पे ना बीच में, not 15, 25, sorry, 25 बीच में ना, so it will be what? See, this is not 5, this is 4. Let me erase this. This is not 6, this is 4. So we have to take this point, then for this point we have to take 6, okay, like this. Now 30 to 45, 40, it is 35, 35, for 35 it is 8. So we have to take this point, okay. Now 40 to 50 midpoint is 45, 45 is for 10, like this. Now 50, 12, so 55, right? 65, 14. Now for 70 to 75, it is 7, 7, 7 is there, right? Okay. Now 5, then 5, 7, 5 is there, right? So now what we have to do, we have to join these one. So this line like this. Okay. If you use proper bar graph, proper graph paper, then you can got the correct answer. Okay. So you can take this point as A, this is B, this is C, D, E, F, G, H, and I. Okay. So let me show you the proper. If you see the we got the same, right? And now if you want to complete, you take, if you want to take up to 0, then you can add from 90 to 100. This is 0, so it is will be 100 and it is become 0 like this at 55, 95, G, H, I, J. Okay. So now see, if I show you this one, the perfect graph, marks are class and mark the class interval along x-axis and the frequency along the y-axis. So what we do first, we mark class interval on x-axis and frequency on y-axis, right? This is on x-axis, this is on y-axis, this is on x-axis. Now let us assume the class interval 0 to 10 with frequency 0. Now see, in this table 0 to 10 is not given, so we can assume that 0 to 10 have frequency as 0. Same for 90 to 100 with frequency as 0. Now calculate the class midpoints of the class interval, which are known as class marks, which are also known as class marks. So for this one, it is 5 like this, right? We have to show this. Are you getting my point? And these are the corresponding frequencies. Now using the midpoint, the frequency value of the above table, plot the points. See, first point is what? 5, 0. A point is 5, 0. B is 15, 4. See, this point is on x-axis. This point is on y-axis. So what we have to take when I want to plot a coordinate, first we have to take x coordinate, then we have to take y coordinate, right? So B is this, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J. Okay. So if I join these points like this, what I got a straight polygon graph. This is known as frequency polygon for this data. Got it? Got it. Now it's time for bar graph. Next is what? Bar graph. A bar graph diagram is a pictorial representation in which we represent a picture life. See, pictorial means picture representation. Representation by pictures. Pictures of rectangles, right? Representation of the data by a series of bars or rectangles, right? Of uniform width. The width should be uniform. If you use a proper graph paper, then you have to draw bars with a uniform width. Okay. Height can be different, it depends upon the data, but the width of the bars in a bar graph is fixed. Okay. Standing on a horizontal line or a vertical line. Okay, now see, bar graph can also be drawn like that, right? Standing on horizontal or vertical. Okay, with equal spacing between the bar graph, and this space is also uniform, right? Okay. Okay. Okay, each rectangle or bar represented only one numerical value. Okay, now see if there is a data, there is a graph given, number of pupils like different fruits. Okay, or apple, like how many pupils like apples? 35. 30 peoples like orange. Banana, 10 peoples like banana. 25 peoples like kiwi fruit. Blueberry, how many peoples like blueberry? 40 people like blueberry, and 5 people like grapes. Okay, okay, so these types of data is represented by what? Bar graph. So this is known as what? A bar graph. I Have you all got my point? Okay, now next is what we have to do. We have to draw bar graph of this particular question. So first of all, we have to draw x-axis and y-axis, right? Yes. First of all, I have to erase this. Yes, next. Pen. Okay, so first of all, what we have to do, we have to draw x-axis and y-axis. If you use bar graph, proper bar graph, then you will definitely draw neat and clean diagram. Okay. Now you have to take games on x-axis and number of students on y-axis. Students on y-axis. Okay, along y-axis, take one small square as 3 unit. Okay, so cricket, football, basketball, okay, and tennis. So you have to draw more. Okay, because 36 is there. So 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, 36, and 37. 30, not 37, 39. Okay, now for cricket we have to draw a bar for 27. So it's like this. Okay, now for football we have to draw bar for 36, like this. For basketball, what we have to do, we have to draw for 18. For tennis, 12. Like this. So this is our required answer. Let me show you the perfect graph. Okay, now if you see, take the various types of game along the x-axis, the number of students along the y-axis. Along the y-axis, take one small square is equals to 3 unit. All the bars should be of same width and space should be left between the consecutive bars. Okay, now we draw the bar chart as shown in the flow given below. Okay, so we can draw easily, right? Okay, now histogram. Next is what? Histogram. Okay, now for histogram, what we do, we just take a sign, this sign, this sign, this sign, right? This sign is known as kink. It means what? We started the graph ununiformly, non-uniformly, then we are going to take uniform difference. If you see, the difference between these two is 10. After that, the difference is between 5. Okay, so in starting, the difference is non-uniform, right? So to show that it is a non-uniform difference, then we have to use that sign which is known as kink. The name of that sign is kink, K-I-N-K, right? A histogram is an approximate representation of the distribution of numerical data. It was first introduced by Carl Pearson. Okay, a histogram is a plot that lets you discover and show the underlying frequency distribution is a shape of a set of a continuous data. This allows the inspection of the data for for its underlying distribution. Okay, so we have this graph, right? So if class interval is given, so if you see, if class interval is given and if you want to draw polygon graph, then it becomes difficult. What then? Why it become difficult? Then what we have to do? We have to find out the midpoint. Then we do. But if we have class interval, then first of all we have to draw what? We have to draw the histogram, and with the help of that histogram, we can easily draw frequency polygon. How? Let me show you. See, this is the midpoint we have to take. This is the midpoint we have to take. We have to take this midpoint. We have to take this midpoint, this midpoint, this midpoint, this and this. So if I join these midpoints, then we got a polygon graph easily. Got it? So that's why it's given as you can frequency distribution, right? We can easily draw this. Okay. Now there is a data given, and what we have to do, we have to draw the bar graph. So first of all, not bar graph, we want to draw what? We want to draw histogram. So first of all, for histogram, what we want? We want the data in interval. In what? Interval. So what I do, first of all, I have to draw the frequency distribution in class interval form. Class interval and frequency. So the data is all about Uncle Bruno owns a garden with 30 blackberry trees. Each tree is of different height. The height of the trees is given below. Now, first of all, we have to take 60 to 75, then 75 to 90, because the difference between the class interval will be uniform. Then 90 to 105, okay, or you can take small, okay. Okay, okay, you can take small, right? You can take small because they are only up to 85 है ना, तो इतना बड़ा लेने से कोई फायदा नहीं है, right? 60 to 65 is fine. 65 to 70, okay. 70 to 75, 75 to 80, 80 to 85, and 85 to 90, right? So how many trees are there whose height is in between 60 to 65? 65 is not included in this one. 65 is included in this one, okay. So 1, 2, 3. Now 65 to 70. 1, 2, 3. 70 to 75. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 75 to 80. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 80 is not included in this one, right? 80 to 85. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2, right? So if you see 76, okay. So here what we have to do, see, if you see here what they take class interval as, in this question they take class interval 60. This is not 675, this is 65 first of all. Now he includes 65 in this one, then he started 66 to 70. But the point is we are going to start, because see देखो, अगर हम 60 to 65 लेंगे ना, first we take 60 to 65, this is 60 and this is 65, and then 66 to 70, then what we have to do, we have to left space. So for this one I change this, I change all of them, okay. So it becomes 65 to 70, 70 to 75, 75 to 80, 80 to 85, and 85 to 90, okay. What I do, I just draw this, and 338952, right? Now I change this also, 33895 and 2, like this, okay. So let me cover this, okay. For 60 to 65, see, if you see, we started from 0 and then suddenly we moves to 60, right? So it means what? We are not going to take a uniform at the start. So we have to show a sign which is known as king sign, isn't it? Now for 60 to 65, it is 3. So this point is 3. We have to take this bar. Okay. Okay. For 65 to 70, we have to take this bar. For 70 to 75, we have to up to 8. For 80 to 85, no, so 75 to 80, we have to take 9. So we have to remove this. We have to take up to this part. Okay. ये नहीं है ना हमारे पास. Okay. Okay. 9. This is 9. And for 80 to 85, it is 5. And for 85 to 90, it is 2. Okay. So this is the required bar graph, histogram. Okay. Now there are some practice question. You have to draw this. Okay. So you can draw the bar graph of this one. Okay. For this particular question, what you have to do, you have to take times on x-axis. On what? You have to take time on x-axis, and you have to take this thing on y-axis, temperature on y-axis. Okay. Okay. And same for this histogram. What you have to do, you have to, first of all, you have to make the class, है ना? Okay. For 0 to 1, see, number are very small, so you can take from 0 to 1, then 1 to 2, then 2 to 3, or okay, and so on. Okay. So if you see, this is the required bar graph, and this is required frequency histogram. Okay. So I hope you got all the concept which we learn in today's lecture. We learn about what we'll started the topic with the help collection of data, then presentation of data, graphical representation of data, then bar graph, and then histogram. Okay. So this is all about today's lecture. Okay. So thank you so much. Stay safe and enjoy. See you in next lecture. Bye.